Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Slumber Party podcast. This time, not just with your host, Amanda Jewson. I have roped in my lifelong best friend, Liza Ramnarine, to talk to me while I do this because, number one, we don't always have guest topics. I think that they come up, but I think what I have discovered in my podcasting journey is that I really like when topics and things kind of come up organically. And so, while we'll have a little theme, usually we're just gonna jump in. So there's gonna be some episodes going forward where it's just Lisa and I kind of talking parenting stuff, being a parent in 2022. Oh my God. There's a joke there, but I'm not going to say it. Without further ado, because I could talk forever, welcome Liza as fellow co-host to the Slumber Party podcast. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm good. Great. I'm here.
You are here.
You can actually respond to me now, not just I don't just hear your voice in my headphones and I just yell at you.
I thought that was going to be about some crack about how like I work too much. Because remember when I was like, girl, I'm going to work from home. We're going to talk every day. And then you call me. I'm like,
Never
I'm about to
talk less.
get on a call. I lived in Australia for 4 years and we talked more and every day.
I think we talked every day for like a year. We talked almost every day.
100%. 100% we did. 100%. And do you remember when, was it your husband or mine that made some, like, it was like some conversation about money. And it was like, well, maybe we could save some money if you weren't talking to Liza every day. I think it was mine. And then the joke was like, we've paid for something, so everything was free. And I'm like, bah, not giving that up. It's free. Sucker.
I know.
Remember that?
Listen, with the pandemic and everything, there were days where I was cooking in my kitchen and I would turn on Slumber Party for zero other reasons, but just to listen to your voice. And then you'd have other people on and I'd say, you know, why are you inviting other people? We could just talk to me.
Well, we've sort of like had this kind of fever dream for years to have our own podcast. And then I like created this podcast for my business. And then it sort of evolved into something like conversations with parents talking about cool things, like whatever. And yes, we're going to focus on baby sleep, but we're also, I mean, there's so much more to parenthood other than sleep, like not much more, but there is. And I just feel like, yeah, basically. So number one, there's two things about why you're joining. You've joined the company, which is really exciting. I mean, this was
I love this. Truly is just as surprising to you and I that we're working together.
This is what I was gonna say.
Anyway,
this is exactly
we're probably most shocked.
So it's
and I don't know
funny.
why.
I know. I feel like it makes total sense.
I was at home and loving it until COVID came.
But you actually, this is your idea and you were totally right. And so this is one of the things that you guys will never know about Liza, but I do, is that like I know something's going on when I don't hear from her. And I'm like, And then so finally.
Child problems.
Yeah, exactly. I get on the phone with you and you're like, hi, I want to work with you and I don't know how to say it. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly, I want that too. And I didn't even know it. It was just like, and like, I
didn't know it either. We have a friend that we reconnected with that told us that we need to do this.
And isn't that funny how she's like, what are you guys doing? Why are you being so stupid?
I know. Well, here we are, being smart.
Well, and I'm kind of like, I'm being conscious that we don't create a podcast about like just talking about our inside jokes. We can't do that because we do
Yes.
have a tendency to like do that when we're around people who like just your friends or just my friends. And then we're like, hey, we can all be friends. And then we get together and we're like, we are so funny. Look at us, we're so funny. And everyone else is like, okay, it's moderately funny at best.
It's one of those like you had to be there, I guess, kind of things.
We can't do that, or else like the podcast will go from like number 385 to a solid 475. So we don't want that. No. So yeah, so you had said that, and I actually this year I started working with a business coach, and we are so like open. I was like, well, look, I think this is a really good idea, but I'm afraid, like, what if we're not friends anymore? And like, and then I talked to my business coach, and she was like, oh, actually, there's a lot of like ways this works out really well. So we have been so thoughtful and so scared to work together, but I think like now that you're here, it's a really, really good fit. So Liza will be kind of doing all the things that I'm bad at, which is like just like admin stuff. And what you realize when you start working for yourself, you're like, you can be as type A as you want, but then there's just too much shit to do. You have a lot of shit to do. And so like essentially you already are an extension of my brain. So we will be like number one, Liza will be doing my discovery calls, which again I'm excited about because you are my brain, and she can answer all of your questions about working with Baby's Best Sleep, with me specifically, with the company, and if you ever write to Baby's Best Sleep, if you have an inquiry, you're probably going to get Liza on the other end of that email. So I don't know that Liza will be in the consulting world, maybe, but for now, that's where you'll see her, and I'm really, really excited. So that's a really long way to say welcome. And
I'm so excited to be
woo
here,
to
honestly.
us.
Yes, finally, we figured it out. Oops. I'll have to
We
figure out
always
how to use
said
a
like
map.
we would either like our children would get married, or we would just like find a way to be together. But this is a
Slowly
good way that
morph
we did
into a
it.
family somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about you. Who are you?
Well, I am a woman. I am
Okay.
a her. I am. I used to be a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. I have 3 kids, and my eldest son, is about to turn 12. Then I have a 10-year-old son and a 3-year-old firecracker daughter. And I was lucky enough to be, to achieve my dream of staying at home with my kids, which was truly, I mean, if you know me as Amanda does, that was a true dream of mine, is to, be able to dedicate my time at home with the kids and just do all the fun, cute things that I dreamt of doing. And, after you get beat up by motherhood and COVID, here I am, 12 years later with my best friend working. But yes, I mean, I am a mom of 3. I am a passionate woman. I have fire inside of me, and I have lots of fun parenting advice to share. And honestly, talk about sleep is me and you talk about sleep way too much. Like, considering that you do this for a living, you and I talk about sleep every conversation we have. And I mean, it's just a thing. And you've always been the sleeper.
You are the person when people ask me like, how did you get into the biz? I always tell this story of like, my friends used to hate me because I didn't have a curfew, and they would all be like, hey, like, so Lisa and I have known each other since we were 16 years old, in Niagara Falls. And so Lisa and I are like going out, and like, we're like, woo, we're teenagers. We're like night out in the town. And it'd be 11. I'd be like, oh, whenever you're ready, guys, like, it's cool. Like, you can just, you can count on me. I'd like show up at 10 p.m. at Bar Star, and I'd be like, woo, and then it'd be like 11:30, 12, and I'm like,
We're
Ooh.
on the dance floor. We're on the dance floor. I don't if you're watching us on a screen, we're doing the movement because this was Amanda's I'm drunk dance.
First of all, I've
And
never drank in my life.
she doesn't drink. And then and yeah, it would be just always like, whenever you guys are ready. I
Whenever
know
you're
I'm
ready.
dancing. My body's not giving it away, but my mind is saying I need to be in bed.
It is who I am. It's always who I've been,
In
unfortunately or
fact, when you were
fortunately.
about to give birth, when we found out you were pregnant, I think I was one of the few people who told you that you may want to look for a night nurse because I was really truly worried about your sleep.
Everyone was. Everyone around me was like, "Hey, we're so excited about the baby. Like, do you have a plan?" I was like,
Right.
thankfully, it did work out, and I did read everything, and here I am.
Yeah.
Well, actually, going back to you as a parent, one of the things I was thinking about in this podcast is what I love about you, like personally, is I call you as my kids grow up, to be like, oh my God, is this normal? Is this okay? And you're like, oh yeah. And that has been like you have such a breadth of experience, like having, I cannot believe you have, I can't believe he's 12. It's just bananas. But you have this experience going from, little kids to big kids, and you also have a little kid. You also have a toddler. So this
Mhm.
is, it's been really interesting for me to kind of give back in that way, in some of those things with your littlest, because
Mhm.
I asked you so many questions when I was a new parent, and you would just usher me. And then I remember when your youngest was born, you kind of just were like, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" Like, hold on, let me take this
Mhm,
one.
mhm. I
So
know.
it's good.
And a
You're in two
daughter. I
spots.
really do have to say that I really feel like every kid got a different kind of me, And they
Mm-hmm,
still,
mm-hmm,
it's like they say, you parent the kid that you have. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
It's just I did change through each kid, and then by the time we had a bit of a break between kids, between the last, and so when we did have her finally, it was just yeah. I mean, you grow, you change, and you get to see the kids that you created and the
I
mistakes
know.
that you made, right? So that third
Yeah,
one is a really lucky one. Um,
it's so
in a
true.
way.
There was someone gave me a really good quote once. It was a client, and um, she said like her parents told her that newborn babies have newborn parents, and I really like that. So like,
Mhm.
truly, just being a young parent, being like, oh my gosh, it's so different, and then you have more kids, and you're going to be a different parent no matter what. Like you can't
Mhm.
control it. You will be different. Your child will have different experiences. Your second child will absolutely not have the first experience that your first did. A lot of parents have a lot of guilt about that because it's like, well, I was there, I was there, I was there. I'm not there as much. It's like, yeah, but
Right.
they have such a different parent at the helm now. There are advantages that the others don't have. And I'm sure that we'll
Yeah,
talk
exactly.
about all of that. Um, okay, so I guess one of the things, I mean, what, so you have a 12, a 10, and a 3-year old. What
Mhm.
has been the most unexpected part of parenting for you? So, like, if you were to, it's you and I hanging out in your white Jetta in 2003,
Mhm.
and you're thinking about being a mom because
Listening
this
to
is
Eminem.
yes. And J Lo, the Ben Affleck
Yes,
years.
of course.
You've wanted to be a parent and a stay-at-home parent for a long time. What has been the most like, oh wow, crazy experience for you?
Yeah, I think just I was reflecting on that, with the new year coming into the new year now, and I was reflecting on that, and I really think that it's just how much you can change and really not recognize yourself, as a
Yeah.
parent. Like how quickly you just look in the mirror and you really lose
Mhm.
the sight of who you are, like in the newborn stage, those kind of days where everything's a blur, but how quickly you, if you don't check yourself, how quickly you can let that, especially,
Mhm.
with me, I am I have some anxieties about like leaving the house and things like that when I have a brand new baby. I
Mhm.
am a
Mhm.
homebody as it is, and just getting out of the house. I just remember being like, no, I want to stay here, and then I would have to kick myself out. So losing yourself, and then like
Mhm.
being surprised at what you're finding when you decide to
Mhm.
go back to find that person, and really like reassessing where you're
Yep.
at. Yeah.
And just being yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I think that people think that like parenting is a um like you become a parent and that's who you are, but it's so nuanced within that. It's so like there's
Mhm.
so many ups and downs in between. um oh god, like
I
I
would
feel
have to
like
say, even with stay-at-home moms, I mean, that is the, I think that if you see other people, but if you're constantly, in your own thing, and maybe you moved into a neighborhood where you don't know a lot of people, right? It is just so difficult to, even though you say to yourself, I'm never going to lose this part of me, or I'm always
mhm.
going to do my hair first thing in the morning, whatever that thing
Mhm.
is for you,
Mhm.
it just got quickly, you can just like let those things slide. And then I think that, just renegotiating with yourself of like, okay, I need to go back to what's really, making me happy, and whatever
Yep.
those things, they will change, every year, or every season, whatever that is. But
Mhm.
yeah.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
agree. Well, I feel like you're just yeah, I'm thinking about that as a new parent. I feel like there's so much you know what I keep thinking about this whole like throughout this whole conversation, and I was actually thinking about this today. Um I read something recently about someone had just written something. I think it might have been on like a Facebook mom group or something, but it was like, oh, there's so much pressure to sleep train, and people feel like it's the only way, and this is the way to do it. And I
Hmm.
just like, it's been sitting with me for probably a week now. And I don't know why it's bothering me, because I have, as a parent, this is me bragging a little bit, but I have like parenting friends who stay at home. I have parenting friends who work. I have parenting friends who co-sleep. I have parenting friends
Hmm.
who sleep trained. I have such a variety, and I don't feel like, yes, 100% I help people sleep independently. That's what I do. But
Hmm.
like there are good friends of mine who still co-sleep with their children. I don't give any shits about
Right.
that. And I
Right.
feel like there's just so many I don't know. There's so many ways to parent. And I feel like that we're in a spot right now where there seems to be like a very focused way of parenting. It's like you're either like
Hmm.
all in on attachment parenting, or you're all in on free
I
range
know.
parenting, or like it leaves no room for like what the parent actually wants to do, whatever that
Absolutely.
is.
It's so funny. After I had my youngest, I thought I was hanging out with a friend, and it was like, around that time where, around whatever it was, like, 6 months. I think the 4-month regression was fine enough for us. And I
Mm-hmm.
found I thought it was gonna work out fine, our whole story with napping and all the things. And a friend of mine brought up like, oh, you're gonna start, do a little sleep training. What technique or whatever are you gonna use, or
Mm-hmm.
methodology? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I wanted to give her an answer because I wanted to sound smart, or I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to sound
Mm-hmm.
like I knew that I like did my research, and I knew what I was doing and what I was talking about. But the reality was that like we're allowed to just change our minds, we're
Yeah.
allowed to feel out the situation. We
Yeah.
again would like to, like, I don't know, I sleep trained my first completely, not I, my husband did because I couldn't.
I was going to say, you ran out of the house.
Yes, he told me to leave. Yes, he told me to leave.
This is before I had babies. And she's like, we're sleep
Yes.
training. I'm like, I
You
don't know
were
what that
loving
is.
life in Australia, and I was crying
was.
in my condo trying to sleep train a baby.
And she's like, I ran out. I was like, cool. Bye.
He's like, sorry, I'm drunk on a beach, so I don't care. I mean, sorry, Amanda doesn't drink. I think we established that. Yes, right.
No, it just makes it seem like all my leisure time is me calling you drunk or being
when
around
you were
you
in
drunk.
Australia.
Yeah, maybe that was the case. Look, my 20s were my 20s. My almost 40s are my 40s.
Listen, you know, it's all a part of the package, and it's so awesome. But yeah, rabbis. But yeah, I mean, and then, you know, when we tried to sleep train our second, I mean, he was just like, whatever. He was the one that would crawl into bed with us, and it worked, you know, like I never thought I would be the person that does that. And it did happen with my second, and, you know, we had to get him out at a certain point, but it was great. Like, it worked. I didn't care. My husband loved it. It was wonderful. You know, we all got lots of sleep. And then with my youngest, when I wanted to give my friend the answer she was looking for, I felt insecure in the moment. And then later, reflecting on it, I thought, you know what? Like, I'm happy that I don't actually know the answer to the methodology because I am just, you know, tailoring it to my kid, right? To the child that I have in front of me. And I remember you asking me, like, would you like to stay in the room with me? And I know for sure that this kid would not let me stay in the room with her because she was so, you know, that she was just, that's just what wasn't going to work for her. And I knew that. But anyways, it's funny. It's funny that we have these ideas about parenting and how it's going to be, you know, how it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be cuddly. It's going to be this. Like, my first one just hated cuddling. Like, he wanted to sleep alone because he didn't want me to touch him. You know, and my middleest is the biggest cuddler, and same with yours, right? And it is just, you have to feel it out, and you're totally allowed to change your mind. I mean, how wonderful it is that you can figure it out, that like, this is not going to work for us. Let's try something else, you know?
Totally. And a good time to remind listeners that, like, we're going to talk about sleep training and independent sleep, but it's a safe space here for however you want to sleep and choose to sleep. I, like most people, are here because they don't want to be co-sleeping or bed sharing or whatever, or like helping their child to sleep. But, you know, I know so many people, and there's like a shame, like, I always kind of say, like, I don't tell people what I do at a dinner party, because it's like you go and everyone wants to tell you their sleep story, or their like shame around sleep. Or people do this. They're like, you know, we're great sleepers. Everything's great. I'm like, awesome. And then like 3 days later, they're like, hi, I was lying.
I lied to you.
Yeah. I do this. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know. It's like I become the priest.
Safe space.
They confess all their sleep sins or apparent
3 nights
sins.
of sleep training for you, sir.
3 nights. I'm coming over. We're doing this. Anyway, so that, I love that. I love that, you know, the idea that we can change our mind, the idea that like you don't have to sleep train, and you don't have to co-sleep, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to fucking do, which is so great. And actually, what the research is showing us about, you know, secure attachment and connecting with your children is, the more you're true to yourself, the more that you love yourself, the stronger attachment you have with your child, because you don't have resentment. And that goes for anything, co-sleeping, whatever you want to do, right? Like, it's just like, the more you treat yourself, the more you have to give, the more you can show up for your kids, the more authentically you are, like, the more comfortable in your skin you are. Like, that's all our kids want. And it's not like, I hate saying they want you to be happy, because sometimes being authentically you isn't being happy. Right. But what they want is for you to be yourself, and they want you to be confident in whatever it is. So I really like
Yeah.
that. There are a few, there's lots of research on attachment. So to say, like, you have to be doing this,
Yeah.
well, sure, if that feels good for you. But if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel good for you, then you shouldn't do that. Like, I remember
Oh
when Winnie came home, she would only sleep on me. And I was like,
yeah.
dang, like, cannot.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, like, everyone's like, just co sleep. I was like, sure, like, and for those of you who are listening, I have my eyes wide open in terror, and I've told this
Right.
story before. But like, the fact of the matter is, I never really thought at the time. I had like a lot of, like, not older parent friends, but like parent friends who have had kids for a few years, who didn't really pressure me in any way. I didn't really feel that pressure at the time, and I just kind of did what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm so glad that I feel like things were chill with my kids because I was just doing what I wanted to do in the end.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
you see those first time moms and dads who are parents, who are just don't allow themselves to to sorry, I lost my train of thought, but just, like they focus on like the attachment parenting or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm actually so against. I'm sorry if you guys are really into it, but I'm really against the buzzwords of like any
Yeah.
kind. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
make fun
Yeah.
of them. Like I like to really be silly with buzzwords, but they're
Yeah.
always a joke from me. Always.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes.
So, any kind of like big idea like that, or attachment parenting. I don't know why. Just I don't like calling things by those kind of terms and
Well,
defining it so strictly.
it's like to actually have a set of like true rules around your parenting is ludicrous,
Right.
because to
Exactly.
your point, like, it's just like always changing. It's
Right.
always changing. It's always evolving. And I can tell you, well, and like, I have a 7 and 5 year old. You have a 12 and 10 and 3 year old. You know this more than anyone. You are going to lie to yourself so many
Mhm.
times. Like I said, I would never give my kids drugs to sleep, like to like be in the car or anything. And
Right.
then I did, because they barf everywhere. But
Right.
then the other bonus is like, oh wow, well, you sleep better in here. Like, you can just, like, by the way, I don't drug my kids. I'm not giving them drugs so they can fall asleep.
I
It
can
was
confirm that.
like, I'm like anal retentive, but here I am. We can't go anywhere without Gravel because of the
Right.
barf. There's so much barf. There was
Right.
barf like last weekend.
Yeah.
Um, on that note, Liza, I hate, like, this is going to be an issue for us.
I
It's going
know.
to feel like I'm going to cut off our conversations midway, but we need to keep this podcast to the length of a crap
Two
nap.
crap nap.
Yes, because otherwise you're just not going to do it. I wouldn't.
No, exactly.
So welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. Liza will be joining us in conversation. We're going to try to do this as often as we can. We're busy parents, so we're going to try to do this weekly, but we might have breaks in between. But otherwise, welcome. I'm excited. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
coming.
much. It's such a long time coming, and I'm so, so happy
I
that this is the time and we're
I
here and it
know.
happened.
2022.
Our year.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And as always, you can find us on Instagram. I'm at Baby's Best Sleep. Liza can be found at BBS_LIZA on Instagram. Go ahead and subscribe to YouTube so you can watch our faces. Emails, all of that stuff. And as always, if you're struggling, please book a call with us. We love to talk to you. Book a call with Liza. We love to dig to see how we can help. And otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.